Between 2011 and 2018, Apple and Samsung spent hundreds of millions of dollars fighting over 50 separate lawsuits across 10 different countries. They were battling over the legal right to own the way a human finger slides across a piece of glass. To understand why this happened, look at the phones we used before 2007. The mobile market belonged to devices with tiny displays, leaving most of the hardware space dedicated to physical plastic keyboards. Then Apple introduced the original iPhone. Steve Jobs stripped away the plastic keys entirely, replacing them with a single, expansive piece of glass. Apple's primary innovation sat behind that glass, the user interface, or UI. This software layout governed how a human interacted with the machine. Instead of clicking stiff buttons to navigate, you pinched a map to zoom out, swiped across a screen to flip through photos, and tapped directly on a digital icon. That seamless, intuitive experience immediately reset consumer expectations worldwide. To survive in the new mobile market, every other manufacturer had to figure out how to replicate that exact feeling. This is a Samsung Galaxy smartphone from that era. Notice the grid of colorful, rounded icons and the singular button sitting at the bottom of the screen. The visual and functional overlap with the iPhone is unmistakable. Apple noticed the overlap. In April 2011, they filed a massive lawsuit in California, explicitly accusing Samsung of cloning their proprietary designs and user interface elements. Samsung immediately fired back. They launched their own lawsuits, claiming Apple was infringing on their foundational wireless technology, the background systems that actually connect a phone to a cellular network. This map illustrates how fast the conflict escalated. Within months, the dispute erupted into more than 50 separate lawsuits spread across the United States, Europe, and Asia. The fight for smartphone dominance moved out of retail stores and carrier display cases and straight into international courtrooms. Apple's legal strategy relied on breaking the iPhone down into two specific categories of intellectual property: utility and design. First are utility patents. These protect how a specific feature actually functions mechanically within the software. This diagram shows exactly what Apple claimed. They held utility patent 7844915 for the pinch-to-zoom gesture, capturing the mathematical logic of two fingers spreading apart to enlarge manage. They also patented the bounce-back effect, which controls the rubber band animation triggered when scrolling past a list's end. The wireframe also illustrates utility patent 7864163. When a user performs a quick double tap, the software calculates the center point and automatically zooms into the content. The second category is design patents, which protect a product's visual appearance and ornamentation. Looking back at the diagram, Apple patented the exact mathematical curvature of the device's rounded corners and the home screen's layout, specifically the colorful, evenly spaced grid of square icons. By breaking the software down and securing these highly specific patents, Apple laid claim to the invisible, everyday language of modern touchscreen interaction. In the summer of 2012, this conflict culminated inside a federal courthouse in San Jose, California. The jury's decision would set the rules of engagement for the entire mobile industry. After weeks of testimony, the jury delivered a massive victory for Apple. They concluded that Samsung had copied the iPhone's specific utility and design features, awarding over $1 billion in damages. That staggering initial number didn't stick immediately. Following years of appeals and recalculations, the two companies finally settled the dispute in 2018, with Samsung agreeing to pay roughly $539 million. The exact dollar amount matters less than the legal nuance behind it. The jury determined that Samsung's actions constituted willful infringement, a legal term meaning they didn't just accidentally arrive at the same layout, but rather deliberately cloned Apple's work. The court validated Apple's aggressive strategy, proving that software look and feel holds measurable, billion-dollar financial weight. This verdict sent a shockwave through the global tech industry. Software developers and hardware manufacturers immediately scrambled to file their own patents, locking down every minor swipe, animation, and user interface element they could invent. The corporate mindset shifted. Historically, patents acted as defensive shields to protect physical machinery or chemical formulas. Now, tech firms deploy them offensively to control digital interactions and freeze out competitors. For today's tech founders and software startups, the lesson is clear. The user experience, the specific way a customer navigates an app, carries as much financial value as the underlying code that powers it. Today, tech giants approach their invisible design choices with the exact same level of security they apply to their physical servers and data centers. Apple and Samsung proved that the modern tech industry is driven by software design. The companies that secure the legal rights to the user experience ultimately control the market.